Have you ever found yourself caught in that agonizing, heavy, almost suffocating moment of uncertainty, where the air between you and a woman seems to vibrate with a hidden frequency? You're sitting just inches away from her, perhaps on a dimly lit couch or at a quiet corner table in a bar, and you can smell the faint notes of her perfume. You can see the way her eyes catch the light every time she looks up at you. And in that moment, your mind becomes a chaotic battlefield of questions. You wonder, if I reach out and touch her right now, will she pull away if I lean in for a kiss? Will I be met with a cold shoulder or a passionate response? This is what I call the great masculine dilemma, the invisible wall that stands between being just a friend and becoming her lover. Most men walk through their entire lives completely blind to the fact that women are constantly, almost incessantly, communicating their deepest desires. But they don't use words. They use a language that is much older, much more primal, and infinitely more honest. They use the language of the body, the language of subtext, and the language of the subconscious. You see, for a woman, being obvious about sexual interest is a high-risk move. She fears social judgment. She fears being seen as too easy. And most importantly, she wants to be chaste. She wants to know that you are a man who is perceptive enough and brave enough to read her signals and take the lead without being told. Today, I am handing you the master key to that hidden language. We're going to embark on a deep dive journey into 8 unmistakable things a woman will only do when she's practically begging you to make a move, even when she's saying absolutely nothing at all. I want you to listen to the nuance. I want you to feel the rhythm of these signs, because once you learn to see them, you will never feel confused in the presence of a woman again. You will move with the quiet confidence of a man who already knows the answer. Let's begin our journey at the very foundation of attraction. Sign number 1, the collapse of the space barrier, or what I like to call the gravity of desire. Every human being exists within a psychological shield, an invisible bubble that we use to protect our personal peace. Under normal circumstances, we don't let just anyone inside that bubble. We keep people at an arm's length to feel safe, but when a woman is sexually attracted to you, that shield doesn't just lower, it begins to dissolve entirely. She will subconsciously try to bridge the gap, drawn to you like a moth to a flame. I want you to watch her micro-movements closely. Is she leaning in while you speak, even if the room is perfectly quiet? Does she find reasons to sit closer than is strictly necessary? Perhaps letting her thigh sit just a hair's breadth away from yours, so close that she can feel the heat radiating from your skin. This is what we call proximity testing. She's checking her own biological response to your presence. She might playfully bump into you while you're walking, or lean her shoulder into yours to see something on your phone. If she wasn't interested, she would be leaning back. She would have her arms crossed. She would be placing her purse or a drink between you like a tactical fortress. But if the barriers are gone, and she is drifting into your orbit, she is handing you a silent invitation. She is waiting for the moment where your bodies finally meet, and she's hoping you'll be the one to initiate that contact. Now, let's move into the intellectual realm of attraction. Sign number 2, the dance of banter. Have you ever noticed that a woman who is truly into you will often attack you with her wit? She might tease you about your terrible taste in movies, or make fun of the way you're always so absurdly confident, or challenge you with a lemline comment that stops you in your tracks. Many men make the fatal mistake of taking this literally. They get defensive, they try to explain themselves, or they get their feelings hurt. Please, don't be that guy. Understand that in the world of female attraction, friction creates heat, and heat leads to fire. This playful push and pull is verbal foreplay. She is poking the bear. She is testing your frame. She wants to see if you're a man who can handle her energy without flinching. From a female perspective, if a man can keep up with our wit, if he can smirk, look us right in the eye, and give it right back with a wink, then we know he can handle us in the bedroom. If she is making it easy for you to keep the banter going, if she is laughing and tossing her hair while she insults you, she isn't just being friendly, she is testing the sexual chemistry to see if you have the guts to turn that verbal tension into something much more physical. And that leads us naturally to sign number 3, the halo effect of laughter. This is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that most men completely overlook. When a woman is sexually attracted to a man, her brain is literally marinating in a cocktail of dopamine and oxytocin. This chemical surge lowers her laughter threshold to almost zero. You could tell the most boring, unoriginal, dad joke in the history of the world, a joke that would make your own mother groan with boredom, and she will laugh as if you are a world-class comedian performing at Madison Square Garden. Why? Because she's not actually laughing at the joke. She's reacting to the feeling of being near you. Laughter is a physiological release of tension. It is her body's way of saying, I feel safe with you, I feel excited by you, and I want you to keep looking at me. Pay attention to the way she laughs. Does she tilt her head back to expose the line of her throat? This is a primal sign of vulnerability and trust. Does she look directly at your mouth as the laugh fades into a smile? If she does, she isn't thinking about your joke anymore. She is thinking about what it would feel like to have your lips against hers. Sign number 4 is the one that separates the kings from the peasants, and that is touch receptivity. Intimacy is a staircase, and you cannot jump to the top floor without taking the first step. If a woman wants to get physical, she will not just allow your touch, she will sink into it. I want you to try a small test. A light, brief touch on her forearm to emphasize a point, or a steady hand on the small of her back to guide her through a crowded room. If she isn't interested, she will have a micro-reaction, a tiny flinch, a subtle shift of her weight away from you. But if she wants you, she will soften. She might lean her shoulder into your hand. She might let her hand linger on yours for just a second too long. Or she might even find a reason to touch you back, fixing a stray hair on your shoulder or checking out the fabric of your shirt. From a woman's perspective, this is the ultimate green light. It is her way of saying, I trust you, I like the physical energy between us, and I am giving you permission to take the next step. If you have reached the point where you are touching her, and she is staying in your space, the time for talking about the weather or work is officially over. She is waiting for the escalation. But wait, before we move into the final, most revealing signs, I need to share a secret with you that most men never learn, and it's the reason so many relationships fizzle out after the first night. Getting a woman into bed is only the first half of the story. What happens once you're there determines everything. Most men are simply winging it. They rely on instinct and what they've seen in movies. But sex is a skill. It is a craft. I always tell my guys, you can watch 1,000 videos about how to get the girl. But if you want to be the man she can't stop thinking about, the man she tells her friends about in whispered, excited tones, you have to understand the science of her pleasure. You have to understand the power of your touch, the importance of Dao Jiao, and how to read her body's responses in real time. Because when you actually know what you're doing, when you can make her lose her mind with pleasure, she won't just sleep with you once, she will become addicted to the way you make her feel. Knowledge is the ultimate power in the bedroom, and it is what turns a one-night stand into a deep, lasting attraction. Now, let's get back to the signals, and move to sign number 5, the strategic wardrobe. Never, ever underestimate the amount of calculation and effort a woman puts into her appearance when she knows she's going to see a man she's attracted to. If she shows up wearing something extra, something that feels a bit more daring than usual, take note. Is she wearing a dress that highlights the curves of her hips? Is she wearing a neckline that draws your eyes to her collarbones? Is she wearing a scent of perfume that is so intoxicating it seems to linger in the air long after she is moved? This is not an accident. This is a deliberate act of seduction. She's trying to trigger your visual instincts. She wants to be seen as a sexual being, not just a friend or a co-worker. She is using her physical presentation to prime your brain for attraction. If she's wearing heels that change the way she walks, making her movements more rhythmic and graceful, or if she's wearing a shade of lipstick that makes you constantly look at her mouth, she's sending a clear message. I want you to find me irresistible, and I've made it very easy for you to see why. Sign number 6 is perhaps the most honest, and it is the presence of nervous energy. True attraction is overwhelming. It is a biological storm. It makes our hearts beat faster. It makes our palms slightly damp, and it creates a restlessness that is hard to hide. Watch her hands and her small gestures. Is she twirling a lock of her hair around her finger? Is she constantly playing with her necklace or twisting a ring? Is she biting her bottom lip while she listens to you speak? These aren't just nervous habits. They are arousal fidgets. Her body is trying to release the massive amount of sexual tension that she's feeling inside, especially the lip bite. That is a primal, often unconscious signal. By biting or licking her lips, she is subconsciously drawing your attention to the most sensitive part of her face. She's thinking about the physical act of kissing. When you see this fidgeting combined with her staying close to you and maintaining deep eye contact, you're in the go zone. Her body is literally vibrating with the anticipation of what might happen when the talking finally stops. The seventh sign is what I call the lingering, and it occurs at the most critical moment of the night, the end. A woman who is not interested in anything physical will make a clean break. She will say good night, I had a fun time, and she will be inside her house or in her Uber before you've even had a chance to process the farewell. But a woman who wants more will linger in that quiet, liminal space between the date and the bedroom. She will stand by your car in the dark. She will walk slowly to her front door. She will say things like, I'm not really ready to go home yet, or the night feels so young, doesn't it? This lingering is her way of keeping the window of opportunity open. She's terrified that the night will end in a simple handshake or a quick hug, so she is staying in your presence, waiting for you to say the words that change the trajectory of the evening. If she is lingering in a quiet, private, dark moment with you, she is practically handing you the keys to the kingdom. She is waiting for you to be the man who says, let's not end this yet. Come back to my place for a drink. And finally, sign number 8, the one that makes 90% of men give up right before they are about to win. The no sex disclaimer. This is that famous moment when she looks you in the eye and says, just so you know, I'm not having sex with you tonight. I've seen so many men hear these words and immediately deflate. They become apologetic. They pull back. They think they've been rejected. But I want you to look at the deep psychology behind that statement. Why would she even bring up the topic of sex if it wasn't already the most prominent thing on her mind? When a woman says, we aren't having sex tonight, she's doing 2 very specific things. First, she's protecting her social reputation. She wants to feel like a good girl, so she gives herself what we call plausible deniability. She wants to be able to tell herself, and her friends, tomorrow morning, I didn't plan for it to happen. I even told him it wouldn't, but the chemistry was just too strong. It just happened. Second, she is testing to see if you will get angry or weird. If she says no sex, and you stay cool, you stay playful, and you don't let it kill the vibe, she feels safe. She feels that you aren't just using her, and the irony 9 times out of 10, the woman who makes that disclaimer is the one who is most worried that she won't be able to resist you. If you keep the tension high and the mood fun, that rule will usually disappear within 30 minutes of stepping through the door. So, there you have it. The 8 signs of the silent language, from the way she collapses the space between you, to the way she laughs at your worst jokes, to the strategic way she dresses and the nervous way she bites her lip. She is talking to you. The question is, are you brave enough to listen? Once you start noticing these signs, you will realize that women aren't nearly as mysterious or complicated as the world makes them out to be. They are simply waiting for a man who is perceptive enough to read the subtext and confident enough to act on it. You have the tools now. You have the knowledge. The next time you feel that electric tension in the air, I want you to look for these signs. If you see 3 or more, stop overthinking. Stop waiting for a written permission slip. She has already given you her answer in the language of her body. If you want to master this even further, if you want the exact word-for-word lines to use during that banter phase to turn the heat up to a boil, I have put together a flirting cheat sheet that will change the way you interact with women forever. It is packed with tactics to build massive attraction instantly, and you can find the link right below this audio. Start paying attention, start trusting your instincts, and stop leaving your romantic life to chance.